I'd like to introduce a neologism into the common lingo. And the term I had in mind is crime comedy, or crime tragicomedy if you want to be a little more respectful. And in particular, whenever you hear a Democrat politician gets carjacked or mugged or something, you kind of like raise an eyebrow and you can't help but to experience a little bit of Schadenfreude, to use a German term. So there's been a couple of events like that in the news. The first incident is regarding Representative Cuellar of Texas, a Democrat, who was carjacked in Washington, D.C., uh, like less than a mile from the Capitol building, if you can believe it. And so it's just kind of like made to order for the right to show that, the Democrats' crazy crime policies are maybe coming home to roost, even for their own elites. I have to admit, though, when I read this article over at Daily Caller, it threw a little cold water on the good, clean fun that we wanted to have about Representative Cuellar getting carjacked. Namely, the headline is Texas Dem who voted to reduce carjacking penalties silent after Representative Cuellar victimized in D.C. The gist of the article is that the D.C. Council, the City Council, which is a legislative body, local, is crazy, and they wanted to lower the penalty for serious crimes like carjacking. However, Representative Henry Cuellar voted to kind of override that local law, which is a complicated, like legal option that they have in Congress to override local D.C. law. And the fact that Cuellar voted against the measure means that, you know, you can't say that he got his just desserts by getting carjacked. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to say that anyway, but he is not somebody that was looking to like lower the punishment for this type of crime in Washington, D.C. The Daily Caller article is kind of attacking this guy Allred who voted with the D.C. Council to kind of maintain their law against it. And this article gives a little background what they're referring to. The D.C. Council approved the RCCA in November of 2022, which reduces penalties for certain criminal offenses, including carjacking, robberies, and homicides. So it's almost like Cuellar knew that this kind of thing could possibly happen to him in D.C., and he was not about to be a part of an effort to like decriminalize Washington, D.C. With that said, I did read an article in the AP today, coincidentally, that also referenced Representative Cuellar because he spoke out against Biden's. Biden is supposed to build like 20 miles of wall, unbelievably, in Texas. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's just surprising. At least, Biden is kind of covering that with a lot of bureaucratic legalese. But anyway, that's what's happening. And Cuellar spoke out against it. He's like, this wall's a bad idea because, he's relevant because he's on a border town and therefore, the press would kind of ask him his opinion. So it's like, all right, Cuellar, you got carjacked and you're against any type of physical wall on the border, which you can kind of argue that that makes him soft on crime, like indirectly. Insofar as, illegal immigration is obviously a crime. Not to say that all immigrants are bad and so forth and all the usual disclaimers, but it's like, anyway, the bottom line is the thing with Cuellar is it's a little complicated because he's kind of on both sides. He's not like a crazy Democrat apparently, but I don't know. Are there still moderate Democrats? I'm not really aware of any. President Biden was supposed to be moderate, and he's like the most extreme radical left president we've ever had. So that's Cuellar, and now here's an article that explains this D.C. rule about carjacking and other similar violent crimes. House Senate GOP to start D.C. home rule vote to block district's new crime law. And this was back in February of this year. So the act would lower penalties for a number of violent criminal offenses, according to legislation first obtained by the Daily Caller. And it says Congress can exercise authority over D.C. local affairs according to the District Clause of the Constitution. That's really interesting. And Congress reviews all D.C. legislation before it can become law. So I kind of learned something there, which is that, like, you would be confused maybe about how is it that Congress can interfere with D.C. City Council, but I guess gratefully for them, they are able to, and in this case, they're like saving their own skin to do so. So some Democrats voted with Republicans in order to block this crazy D.C. Council rule, and then of course Mayor Bowser vetoed this city council that was going to punish crime less in D.C. as if that's what Washington D.C. needs is to be more lenient. Here's some statistics. The number of homicides increased 19% in 2020 and remained constant in 2021. Carjackings have tripled since 2019. So DC sounds pretty off the chain. And so Cuellar did not go so far as to kind of roll with those Democrats. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't circle back to that border situation. And again, like, is the border related to a carjacking? Not exactly, except insofar as it involves this guy again, Representative Henry Cuellar. And it's really interesting that Biden is building a little bit of a border wall in Texas. I mean, it's obviously he's responding to the politics of the situation, and he sees his polls are bad. So he's kind of pausing on his like insane desire to have completely unrestricted immigration. And so you would think moderate Democrats would like that. And I kind of implied that Cuellar is a moderate Democrat earlier. And I have to admit I wasn't familiar with him before he was carjacked. But here he is again in this AP article out today on Thursday. Quote, a border wall is a 14th century solution to a 21st century problem. It will not bolster border security in Starr County, U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar said in a statement. Quote, I continue to stand against the wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars on an ineffective border wall. So wow, man, I mean, even the Biden administration is conceding that we need a little bit of border wall, and this guy is still holding out. So, I mean, what can I say? Does that mean that he deserved to get carjacked? No, but he is pretty out there, at least on some issues. So make of that what you will. My name is Michael McCara. Thank you so much for watching. In the description, you can find my Twitter handle. I hope you'll follow me on Twitter. And you'll find my blog link as well, which is very popular. A lot of people reading over there. And finally, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it.